Nerekhall was a maze of them, a sunless warren of winding alleys, blind ends, double backs, and crooked little lanes that got a person nowhere except lost. Trenloe had always had a terrible sense of direction. His father had despaired of it. But Nerekhall was something else. He had seen only one straight path in the entire city, and that had been the road going in. He chased the girl onto the branch, only to pull up when he found himself confronted by an unassailable wall of bustle. Several of the crooked houses were fronted by simple awnings in a variety of drab, sooty colors. The smell of baked loaves and barbecued meats filled the air, seeking to dislodge the less savory urban scents and not entirely succeeding. Men and women pushed carts and set up stalls, shooed stray urchins from their porch steps, and hawked homespun wares. Blowing steam into the cold air, Trenloe planted his hands on his hips and surveyed the unexpected crowd. A maze. There was no other word for Nerekhall that fit. He had only meant to leave his companions, Andira and Owl, at Bridge Market for a moment or two while he found directions to the academy. Now he was going to have to pay a guide just to retrace his steps. "Damn that girl." She was nowhere to be seen. Trenloe was not overly concerned about the money. He had made and given away more in a single day than he had just lost. The occasional clean bed or cooked meal notwithstanding, it was not as though he wanted for much. No, it was the fear of returning to Bridge Market and facing Andira Runehand's disapproval, having lost what was, after all, technically her money, that had kept him running across half of Nerekhall. His friend terrified him the way no foe ever had. "Has anyone seen a girl?" He looked hopefully around the shoppers and traders, but wherever he turned, folk glanced quickly away. Nerekhall, as Trenloe had been firmly informed by the black-masked captain of the watch before being admitted across the bridge, is a law-abiding city. It minded its own business, and it saw no evil. "Anyone?" A middle-aged woman in a short dress of tattered fustian, who was setting out homemade pottery on her windowsill, caught his eye. She pursed her lip briefly, then nodded towards a narrow lane that opened immediately across from her window. It was little more than a gap where two houses failed to fully meet, effectively hidden away by the clutter of street furniture. A maze. Trenloe would never even have noticed it was there. He turned to thank the woman, but she had already disappeared, drawing the shutters over her shop window. It saw no evil. Taking a deep breath, Trenloe crossed to the alley. It was so narrow he had to enter sideways. A pair of rats, fleeing the sound of metal armor scraping on old timber, scampered ahead, their panicked squeaks echoing from the high walls. They rose to 3 stories either side. The way ahead smelled of rotting trash and damp. Had the girl really gone this way? Could he have misinterpreted the potter's direction? Was there even a second alleyway she had been pointing to but which he had not seen? Or was everyone in Nerekhall a crook, petty or otherwise, and it had simply been the woman's intention to throw him off a fellow thief's chase? He shook his head, firmly berating himself for the unworthy thought. He did not mean to look for the worst in others, but he had grown up with the same stories of benighted Nerekhall as everyone, and they were difficult to look past. Nevertheless, he was still torn between turning back or trusting the woman and pressing on when a shaft of gray sunlight suddenly lit up the alley ahead. It was not coming from above, but rather from a door that had opened at the alley's blind end, backlighting and framing the girl who had just thrown it open. She was much younger than Trenloe had been expecting, no more than 10 years old, and strikingly, almost painfully thin. Her smock was undyed, the gray-brown color of sheep, her frightened face and dirty blonde hair streaked with mud. Trenloe felt a stab of guilt. He was almost ready to give up the chase and let the poor girl have his coin.
"Fortuna's luck," the girl spat. "What does it take to get rid of you?"
She slipped through the open door and pulled it shut behind her. Trenloe sighed and scraped doggedly along the tight passage. A few seconds behind the girl, he made it to the door. He tried the latch. The door rattled, bolted from the other side. He hated himself for it, but this girl was beginning to annoy him. "Gods forgive me. This coin's supposed to be spent in a good cause." With absolutely no effort on his part, he threw his shoulder through the door. It crashed under the neat, yellow-stained flagstones that lay on the other side, and Trenloe blinked as he staggered through into the unexpected brilliance of direct sunlight. He had been expecting the back room of some pickpocket's den, but found himself